Welcome everybody to our webinar today, and a big thank you for joining us. I want to start by just saying that this is a team effort. I'm here with a number of colleagues from across the service. We have social workers on the call, we have managers, and we're here really to tell you and talk to you about why we think it's a really good time to work in Hull. We also want to listen to you, so we want you to ask your questions as we go. On your toolbar there's a chat function and there's a question and answer function. Please use that, so ask your questions, and myself and a colleague will be keeping a close eye on those questions as we progress. We have built in time at the end to go through those questions and make sure that we can respond to as many as possible in the time that we have. This is our first attempt at webinars in Hull to promote recruitment to the city and to promote recruitment to social work in our city. We're very excited about it. We've made a promise to each other that we're going to be as authentic and as real as we possibly can. We want to be ourselves. We've got fingers crossed that the technology works. If it doesn't, we've got some help in the background, so do bear with us. If we do have any technical hitches along the way. And we do have an hour, so that should be plenty of time to hopefully just start a conversation and a discussion with at least some of you. I hope this isn't the first conversation that we have, isn't the last conversation, but only the first conversation that we have with some of you. So I'm going to start really briefly with a little bit about my story and my journey in Hull. And I will be brief. I moved to the city when I was 18. I'd just finished my A-levels and I moved to start my degree at Hull University. It's a long time ago now. I won't tell you how many years, but it is a long time ago. And I came as a young person myself, not quite sure what life would bring. And very quickly I connected with the city. I connected with its people. I connected with a whole range of voluntary services that I got involved with at the time. And I decided, after my degree, I decided to stay in Hull. And I've lived in Hull or the surrounding area ever since. And I'm now bringing my own children up in the city, in the surrounding area. My first job with Hull City Council was back in 1993. And at the time I was a youth worker and I worked in a secure unit that we had in the city at the time. I loved my job back then, and I still love my job now. It wasn't easy, it was challenging, but I still think about on a really regular basis those opportunities that brought for me, those roles brought for me. And I still have really strong memories and visions of the young people that I supported all those years ago. And it was that capacity and opportunity to make a difference. It was that importance of team that stayed with me throughout my professional career, and it's part of the reason why I'm working in Hull today. I did leave Hull for a while and I went to work in another local authority in the region, and the pull was almost a bit too great, and I came back after a couple of years, and I'm really pleased that I did. And I want to be honest with you, because our journey hasn't been easy. It's been very challenging, and colleagues on the call will share those stories and experiences too, particularly in the context of our improvement journey. We've had challenges along the way. It's been really, really hard work at times, but what I can say really honestly is that we're making really good progress, and particularly in the last 6 months, that progress is being felt throughout the organisation. And is motivating all of us really to keep going and to see this through, and that's certainly how I feel about the role that I do. For those of you who won't know, I'm not sure whether it comes up on the screen, I'm currently the Acting Assistant Director for Children's Safeguarding in Hull, and I feel very proud to be able to say that today. I feel very proud that I've been part of Hull's journey, high and low points, and I'm in a position now where I can take the approach that I think works, the approach of trying to involve people as much as I can, of really thinking about the importance of relationships and communication in terms of improvement. And I think all things considered, we're doing that really well at the moment. So I'd really like you to listen to what my colleagues and team members have to say. And I'd really like you to take this opportunity to ask as many questions as you have. If there are things that come up after the webinar, please get in touch. As I said earlier, this hopefully with at least some of you will be the first and not the last conversation that we have. So I'm looking at the list of attendees and we have about, I think we have 22 at the moment, so that's fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. I also have the 8 of us in terms of Hull City Council employees. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by, I'm going to start by opening up the session in terms of some of the team talking to you about what it's like to work in Hull. And we'll collect the questions as we go, and then at the end of the session, we've got till 6 o'clock, we'll do a question and answer session. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to hand over to Alex Campbell. And Alex is going to talk to you about practice in Hull and some of the work that we're doing at the moment to strengthen our practice model. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Rachel. Good evening, everybody. Yes, I'm Alex Campbell. I'm one of the heads of service currently working with the improvement team within the city, but previously had responsibility for localities, and then prior to that, EHASH and assessment. As Rachel, there's been too many years that I've been employed by Hull City Council and working within Hull. I am local, I'm a local girl, and just live in the surrounding areas of Hull, and very much feel passionate about Hull, and the reputation at times that Hull has, that it's not a thriving city, that it's not a forward-thinking city, and I want to really energise that actually that is so different, working in the city centre, working with colleagues across the partnership to really improve outcomes for children and young people. The City of Culture that we won and progressed a couple of years ago now, that had a massive impact on how people viewed Hull and how we moved forward. And we've continued on that train track really, and on that journey. As Rachel suggested, and as part of my role at this moment in time, we are on an improvement journey. That journey is big. I won't say it isn't. It's very challenging at times, but the challenging also comes with perfect opportunities for learning and reflection and thinking differently about how we approach things. Like Rachel, I began working with children and young people a number of years ago, and I also did residential. I absolutely loved the time that I spent with children and young people in residential childcare, and moved into fieldwork practice because I felt that I needed to be instrumental in working for children and young people, ensuring that their voice was heard, and that wherever possible we tried to make sure that children remained at home with their families, with their parents and with their siblings. Because during my time at residential, one of the biggest things was seeing children having contact with their parents and siblings when they were separated, which had a massive impact emotionally on them. I have progressed through the system. As I say, started as fieldwork social worker quite some time ago, and have progressed through the kind of management hierarchy, and now working as part of Rachel's team, really driving forward that practice. And the current role that I'm doing is that of working with the improvement team that we have in Hull, and also working alongside my colleagues, heads of service, and really focusing on practice, improving practice, making sure that we have opportunities for social workers to really value their position, really and make it a professional organisation, so that social workers are thriving and being given every single opportunity, which ultimately has an impact on their practice and then has an impact on children and young people's outcomes. Over the next few months in particular, our practice is really going to have the foot on the acceleration pedal, because we have recently engaged with Signs of Safety, and that is going to be our practice model. That's going to be our framework, and training and development is beginning with Signs of Safety at the end of September, beginning of October. And we are also engaging and have just commenced with our practice learning development programme with Research in Practice. And again, over the next 3 to 6 months, we have a very bespoke package of training, learning, development, shadowing, coaching with Research in Practice that focuses on really key skills of social work. So critical analysis, risk assessment, engaging with young children and young people, permanence planning, neglect, and contextual safeguarding, to name just a few that we're engaging with Research in Practice. So I think it's a really exciting time at the moment. I'm enjoying the improvement work. It is challenging, as Rachel said, but at the same time, as I've said, it offers absolute opportunity for reflection, learning, curiosity and development. And it's enabling me to continue to think, learn and develop and reflect about how I am approaching my role in the best interests of young children and young people. So we now have 25 people on the call, so I'm really eager to make sure that if there are any follow-up questions or even following the webinar, that people contact me. It's my name at the advert, so if there is, by all means, please contact me on my mobile or via email, and I'd be happy to address any questions during that process. Thank you.
Many thanks, Alex. I guess in terms of what Alex was saying there, if you're timing-wise, we're on the cusp of something really different. We've had significant financial investment to be able to roll out the Signs of Safety practice model and the associated training that goes with that. And we've got a whole range of other practice learning that comes into play early autumn time. So if that's you and that's something that you're interested in, please talk to us about it, and please think about whether Hull is the right next move in terms of your professional development and career. Thank you. So Lara next is going to talk to you a little bit about the opportunities for progression and development in our city. Laura's one of our group managers, and again is somebody else that's worked in the city for quite a long time now. Can I hand over to you, Laura, please?
Yeah. Hi, so my name's Lara Davidson, and as Rachel said, my current role is as a group manager in one of the locality teams, which is overseeing teams of practitioners who support and work with children where the safeguarding issues. I again have been working for Children's Services for over 20 years now, and again my journey started with a social worker, and again I really loved Hull, the people in Hull, and social worker with children, which I felt passionately about and loved, and have continued working within the authority since then. My role after that was as a family support worker, and again worked my way up as a social worker and team manager. And I think the the colleagues and people who I've worked with and the passion that I see every day absolutely makes the job worthwhile. I have just been sat with social workers now looking at direct work and no children in the lives of the children. It does make the job very, very rewarding. I think as a whole across Hull City Council with Children's Services, there are lots of opportunity for learning and development. That's both individually and collectively within teams. Due to COVID-19 situation, we have become more diverse in the way that we have managed the learning and development, but that has still continued. And we've actually learned new ways of working, which has brought people together, I think, as a team. So through teams and through regular learning and development between ourselves, we have the research in practice. We have very close links with research in practice, and I know that a lot of colleagues and myself who've done the training, it's been very, very worthwhile and very beneficial. And we also have champions within each area who again share with team members and about learning research for themselves in particular areas of interest, and are supported to go on additional training in order to champion that in each area in order to drive practice forward. A large proportion of staff who work in Hull have been here for a significant amount of time, and progression is absolutely supported, and we absolutely encourage staff to develop and go up in increments in relation to social workers roles, and then develop into team managers and group managers and above. We have the personal growth and performance reviews, which is consistently held twice a year, and that looks at individual styles of learning as well, and individuals. So if there's any external training or anything personally that people might benefit from, then that is what we do consider within that. We have an increased amount of mentoring and coaching now, and individual support in order to encourage areas of development. And I've recently been on the Aspirant Leadership Programme, which is a programme that's run across areas across the region. So it involves managers from all different areas within social work practice, and training like that has been really, really beneficial because you can sit and share practice ideas. It's really good for networking, and I know a number of people who have also been on the helpful. So yeah, I mean, I would absolutely say that in relation to opportunities and development, it's absolutely moving forward and continues to be somewhere where I want to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I think I would just add a couple of things to that. In the feedback that we've had around the staff progression policy has been fantastic from our workforce, because what we've in effect done is taken out some of the process that was previously related to staff progression and social work progression, and we've brought the focus entirely back to practice where it should be. We've also introduced a transfer protocol that allows people, as part of the professional development, through discussion with their line managers, to think about and discuss development options across our service and even our directorate. And again, that's been really well received. And personally for me, the highlight of my month, as some of my colleagues on the call have heard me say before, is the staff recognition event that we've been introduced on a monthly basis. So once a month, we, and when I say we, I include our DCS, and our Deputy Chief Exec has also been involved to date. We celebrate good practice and we bring colleagues in. It has been virtual to date, but we hope to get to a point where we might have some physical meetings and celebration events quite soon, but where we celebrate good practice and we acknowledge the hard work and difference that our workforce are making in terms of the lives of the children that we work with and we support. So fantastic. Thank you, Lara. And I think I'm going to go to Gaynor next to come in and talk to us about the role of the team manager and how that's been for Gaynor and some of her reflections in terms of things that you might want to hear about. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name's Gaynor. I am a team manager based at the North Locality team. I have been qualified since 2004 and became a consultant social worker in 2014, which was renamed to the team manager in 2018. Part of my role is to support, mentor and nurture a team of people, which includes team coordinator, family practitioner and social workers from ASYE, which is the Assessed and Supported Year in Practice, which is a grade 7, through to our advanced practitioner who is a grade 10. My role involves giving monthly supervision to staff, focusing on their mental health and emotional well-being, discussing their learning and development, and also running through to reflective case supervision on the children that they support in their role. Within supervision, part of my role is to constructively challenge and give feedback to ensure that we are progressing child's plans, that children are receiving the correct and right support, and that we are driving those plans forward to reduce the risk of harm for the children that we are working with. I also chair and lead on strategy discussions, Section 47 inquiries. I attend Legal Gateway panel, permanence tracking panel, chair PLO meetings, our public law outline process, and offer support to those less experienced members of staff if they've got children that unfortunately end up in the court arena and they need that support and guidance, and that can include me supporting staff actually attending court and helping give instruction to our legal team. I absolutely love my job. I'm a girl that was born and bred in Hull. I've always lived here, gained my qualification here, and I couldn't think of working anywhere else. I found the job extremely rewarding, although challenging, as you've heard from my colleagues. But in Hull, we embrace that challenge, we embrace change. We are supported through that change from our direct line managers through to our senior leadership. We attend meetings where information is cascaded down that we can share with our families, that we can share with staff to promote that real learning environment and enriching that social work practice where we can get the absolute best out of the work that we do. And there's nothing more rewarding in seeing a real difference being made to the children and families that we work with and those lived experiences. We have a wonderful, I think I have a wonderful team of social workers and family practitioners. And like I said, I couldn't think of any better place to work. Thank you.
Many thanks, Gaynor. I also know myself from the Staff Recognition Awards how much Gaynor's team value her and the support that she provides. I hear a lot about that. Thank you, Gaynor. I'm going to pause just a moment because we do have 2 questions that have come in. And there's a question that's around Quite rightly, a question to me around our January 19 inspection and how that inspection report noted that there needed to be improvements in terms of leadership. And it did. And what I would say in response to that is that inspection report also touched on, either indirectly or directly, a significant shift in culture that was required at that time if we were going to improve and attain the improvements that were needed. I'm saying that really honestly to people. There was a lot that needed to be different, and there is a lot that is different. So culturally, we have much more of a focus on strengths and learning and improving via strengths. In many ways, we have a different management team. We have a different new DCS. But we do have many of our experienced colleagues that have been with us all the way through it, myself included, who now would describe the conditions being much different and much more supportive and conducive to change and improvement. And we're also getting some external recognition that things are changing, and that's fantastic. So in that context, in terms of leadership, leadership is more visible. There is more of a focus on performance, and there is more of a focus on the things that need to improve. But I can honestly say that people have welcomed that focus and that clarity and improved communication around what needs to be different. Improvement isn't about blame. It's never personal. It's about learning and doing our best for children. So my response is that I believe in terms of leadership and management, we're in a very different place now. There's also a question around whether we'd consider international candidates. And my response to that is that we're in a position where we're considering all candidates. For individuals overseas, I would really encourage an individual conversation. So you do have contact details in terms of Alex, who's been on the call. You've had a chance to hopefully see Alex's face and hear some of what she's had to say. So please do get in touch. In terms of our approach to recruitment, really positively what I can say, and building on what Gain has said, is that we went through a period of time where we weren't seeing a lot of external interest in Hull. We were struggling to recruit externally. That's not the case at the moment, and I would say that despite us having the challenges of managing and coping with a global pandemic, during the last 6 months we've seen the highest levels of interest in terms of external appointments and external recruitment than we've had in a long time. And one example I'd share is that we're in the process of 8 of our agency workers are currently transferring from agency contracts to permanent contracts with us, showing a commitment that they like what they see, they like what they're hearing, and they want to stick with Hull and they want to stay and continue to practice in their teams. So recruitment is absolutely going in the right direction. And when I talk about lots of external interest, I want you to hear that in the context of balancing that alongside really good retention. We haven't struggled in Hull in terms of the retention of our workforce. We've always been very strong. We have local universities. We've always been very strong with our students, very strong in terms of practice educators and supporting our social workers in their first year of practice. We've got 18 newly qualified social workers starting in, over August and September. But we're really having a drive at the moment, and we're really having a push, because what we feel is that with our with the experience that we've got and that we've retained, we're really at a point now where we benefit from more experienced external interest. So people that might have used signs of safety, for example, colleagues that can bring different and new ideas around how we might work with contextual safeguarding, as an example, how we might develop some of our approaches around direct work. So we're really proud of our retention. We're proud that people want to stay in the city, but we also want to be outward facing. and we want more people from our wider social work community to come and join us. Thank you, Gaynor. So I'm going to bring now, the team manager who's going to speak next was somebody, because it might feel a little bit like all of us so far have been working in the city for a very long time. I think Tara, who's going to talk to you next, actually was going to talk to you. I've just had a little message to say that she's here, so I will move to Tara next. And a big thank you to Tara for joining us, because Tara and another colleague who was due to be on the call had to prioritise a visit to a child. And in our work, that often happens, doesn't it? Best plans. And if we need to, we prioritise the visit to the child, and we prioritise the contact that we need to have with children. So many thanks, Tara, for making it. Are you with us? Do you want to talk a little bit about coming to Hull and joining the team from another authority?
Hi. Am I working?
You are, and you're in the car. Are you on the way back from the visit?
Yeah, I am. I've got
Thanks,
Andrea with me, so she'll be ready to do her part. Yeah, so I joined Hull in January 2019, shortly after the Ofsted inspection. So obviously it was quite a challenging time. Found was that staff, that I credit to Hull, that all the staff were really welcoming and really want to get you on board with the journey. And I think they're very much on board. So I came in with a few different ideas, as well as sort of bringing on some of the stuff that they'd already developed, and staff really got on board with that, and we're really keen to sort of try new ideas and to do things a bit differently. So for me, my experience at Hull has been that people have been really supportive, people are really getting on board with change and really want to see that change, which is really positive, and they're really focused on the child and the family and getting the best outcomes for them. So for me, yeah, my experience of coming from a different authority has been a really positive one.
I think we might be losing Tara. Is that everybody? Alex, can you nod if you're losing Tara too? Tara, I think we might be losing you. But thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you. Okay, so Tara, I think I got most of that, and what Tara was talking about was coming from another local authority. Tara's been with us a while now and is a very valued and respected team manager. And I think it's fair to say that in terms of Tara's last year in practice, you've faced some challenges in terms of stability of your team. And you've done a grand job in terms of sticking with the team and hopefully now seeing some of the benefits and some of the progress as a result. So thank you, Tara. We're going to move on now to, let's talk to some of our social workers on the call, because I'm sure that some of you will want to hear from social workers themselves. So can we go to Ashley first?
Hi.
Yeah, Ashley's going to talk a little bit about what it's like to work and live in the city as a social worker. Tell us a little bit about your story, please, Ashley. I think we've lost Ashley too. So we'll try Ashley again in a while. These are the challenges of technology, aren't they? Sometimes it works for us, sometimes it lets us down, but we'll make do. So Eleanor, are you with us? Have you got a better connection?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, oh, perfect. That's great. And you're not in a car. Fantastic. Tell us about your story, Eleanor.
So my name's Ellie. I have lived in Hull all of my life, apart from the 3 years that I moved away for university. So I did my training in Leeds, and then at the end of that, I made the decision to come back to Hull. And that was in September 2018. So I've been here just under 2 years as a social worker. I cover the east of the city. And so far, it's been a really positive experience, and I'm really pleased with my decision to come back to Hull to be a social worker. I feel that I've been really well supported. Obviously, I did my assessed year in employment in Hull, so I had a really good supervisor for that. And then I've had a consistent manager the entire 2 years that I've been here, and he's really, really good. And I feel that not only will he challenge me to help me progress my learning and be a better social worker, I feel that he also is very good at praising me where I've done something well, and I feel like that's been invaluable in my progression as a social worker, really, and my confidence in my ability to do that role. I agree with what Lara was speaking about earlier as well, about the opportunity for progression in Hull. So I obviously progressed from a grade 7, I'm now a grade 8, and I'm hoping in the next year or so, I'm hoping to progress to my grade 9 position as well. And that's something that I've discussed with my manager, and I'm looking forward to doing that and having that bit more responsibility and that additional learning as well. There's training opportunities as well, which have been really helpful for me. I feel that you learn a lot from university, but I feel like I've probably learned even more from working here, doing my job, doing the training that's available to me. And overall, it's just been a really good experience for me. And like I say, I'm really pleased that I made the decision to come back to Hull and work here. So yeah.
Thank you, Ellie. I'll remember it's Ellie next time. Ellie, I'm just wondering, because team is such an important part of social work, isn't it? And it's good to hear you talk positively about your manager and both the challenge that we all need at times, but the support and that healthy balance. How have you found teams and support from colleagues?
Yeah, that's been absolutely invaluable to me. I've had a relatively consistent team. Obviously, unfortunately, people move on, and we've had agency staff and things like that. But I've had a relatively consistent team, and I know that there's definitely 2 social workers in my team that they're always my go-to for advice. And I know that sometimes if my workload's too much and I need a bit of support with something, I know that they will come and do that. And I feel that there's things that I've been able to support people with as well, maybe that I've got a better understanding of, because I think we all have our own strengths. And I think as a team, we're able to share those strengths with each other and help other people develop. And I think that's really important. I think that peer aspect of work is really, really important to me. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic has been really hard in terms of that, because I am very much used to having those people around you in the office to sort of have those conversations with. So now that we've got things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom up and running, I found that really beneficial, because you still, although you're working from home, are still able to offload at times, because it is a challenging job and you do need to offload, and you're also able to seek that advice and say as well, I've done this, and actually I'm really proud of myself for having done that. And you're able to share that within your team, and I find that that's really useful for me. So yeah, I really get on with my team, and I feel that their support has just been invaluable to me over the last 2 years.
Thanks, Ellie. Ellie touched on our responses to COVID-19 and the challenges of working and delivering social work in the midst of a global pandemic. What I would say, when COVID-19 arrived, I think it's fair for me to say I was probably a week in post at that point. So it was quite a shock to the system, and I think it was a bit of a shock for us all, wasn't it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and looking back now, I can genuinely say that I feel really proud of the response of everybody on the team. We have, it's been incredibly challenging in terms of responding and retaining a focus on children and safeguarding the most vulnerable children, whilst ensuring that the workforce is safe and ensuring that people feel safe on a day-to-day basis. But we've done a fantastic job considering all of that, and I say that and I really mean it. And we've had some external recognition that in some ways, whilst it's been such a challenging time for people, it's also been a time at which the team in Hull has flourished. We've escalated so many things that were taking a bit too long to progress, like technology and the use of technology within social work. That the progress there has been phenomenal. The use of Microsoft Teams, the use of all sorts of technology in terms of supporting practitioners in their work. But probably more importantly, if we're talking about safeguarding children, the biggest strength has been the ways in which partners have come together to safeguard children. So without the need for forum, without the need for boards, practitioners who work with vulnerable children in our city have come together and they've flexed their roles, they've supported each other because it matters and because it's important for the children that we support. And if I give you a few examples, I had a meeting with head teachers in the last week of term where we were reviewing some of the work that we'd done during COVID. And some of the head teachers and senior safeguarding leads used really powerful language. One of them talked about it being transformational, that relationships have been the best that they've ever been in 20 years. And that wasn't about policy, it was about us really thinking differently about how we collectively come together to safeguard children. And I'm really pleased to say we haven't talked about it yet, and I'm surprised that we've managed 42 minutes without talking about it. But during July, we applied for a DFE funded programme, SWIS, Social Workers in Schools. And we heard about a month ago that we've been successful. So we're absolutely thrilled about that. And that means that as of end of September this term, we'll have additional funding for 8 social workers and a team manager to be completing statutory social work whilst based in schools. And the opportunity that that brings for us in terms of strengthening further the relationships that we've built during COVID, and more importantly, the opportunities it brings for improved experiences for children are huge. So we're really proud of that, and I just wanted to share it. And thanks, Ellie, for reminding us that despite the COVID period being incredibly challenging, you know, we've done a good job. And in terms of working arrangements at the moment, we are maintaining, even beyond COVID, we are going to maintain a blended approach of home working and office-based working, because the feedback that we're getting all of the time is that that can work and does work better in social work. So thank you. We're going to try one more time to come back to Ashley. If the technology doesn't work, don't worry about it, Ashley. And then we're going to move to question and answers. So Ashley, tell us about your story.
Thanks,
if you
Rachel.
can.
Sorry, my internet's been absolutely fine throughout the whole of COVID, working from home, and now it goes off. How typical. Yeah, so I'm a grade 10 advanced practitioner in the East locality. I came to Hull for university in 2012, and as soon as I arrived, really, there was no question that I was going to stay. I did have a while out of about a couple of years, but came back as agency in November last year, and by June I'd applied for a permanent position because I liked it that much. I think for me it's such a friendly place. I'm not from too far away anyway. I think Hull has something quite different about it. I think it's such good multi-agency working with the agencies and the services in the city, and I think from coming to university here and then seeing what services are around for families and doing placements there, it very much made sense for this to be my kind of career choice. I've absolutely loved it. So I get lots of opportunities for training, or lots of various things that I can do within my role. And I think my role develops and changes constantly into kind of what we're doing and how we're supporting the kind of newly qualifieds and family practice in our team. And I'm not from this city but live here and kind of make the most of what's to offer. And I think it's one of those cities where, like I say, sometimes people have not ever heard about it, don't know where it is, but actually once you get here, it's somewhere that I can't really see myself leaving now, and I've got plans to start my own family and life in the city. So yeah, I think it's one of those places that it's just great. I really do like it, so I'd never go anywhere now.
Many thanks, Ashley. That's great. Okay, so we'll move on to the last part of the session, which is about your questions. And I'm looking that we have 7 at the moment. Alex, I'm going to take us to the first question, which is around, the question that I'm looking at, which is around which areas of the service are we currently recruiting to? Do you want to pick that one up, please?
Yeah, that's fine. We do have Claire Rutherford, Rachel, with us as well. Sorry, Claire joined us a little bit late, but hopefully Claire will be able to be involved in some of the question and answers. So at the moment, we are recruiting to social workers, grade 8, grade 9 and advanced social workers, so the same position as Ashley and Ellie in regards to those positions. They are in our assessment teams and in our locality safeguarding children's teams, so undertaking child in need work, child protection work, and the beginnings of proceedings. And we also have a couple of vacancies in our looked after service, so children who are looked after and have a permanent care plan primarily away from parents.
Thank you, Alex. We have a question. I'm just wondering, Claire, whether you would like to pick up a question. It'd be interesting because I started to answer it before, so let's see what your thoughts are. Claire's been a team manager with us for a long time now, a very well respected team manager, very much works really closely with other teams across the service. Claire's in one of our locality teams at the moment. There's a question, Claire, around the January Ofsted report and the improvements that we needed to make in terms of leadership. Is there anything that you'd like to reflect on in terms of how management and leadership has changed since, in the last 18 months?
Hi everybody, I'm Claire. Yeah, I'm a team manager for the local authority, and the comments I would make around that, Rachel, is that we have had lots of input from senior leadership in terms of our development as team managers. So one of the things for me as a team manager moving forward and building on strengths, I was offered an opportunity to attend a specific course, and it's called the Aspiring Leadership course. It's a course that's attended by a number of authorities across the country, which means that you've got authorities there who have outstanding Ofsted inspections, good, requires improvement, and inadequate. And I think the great thing for me is that those courses allow us all to share our ideas and take those ideas back to the local authority that we work in to try embed better practice for children and families. Alongside that, we had a change in our senior leadership. So there was some changes. Some people stayed, we had new people coming in to share ideas from different places. We took on board the constructive advice that was given. We had many audits done on children and families that we were working with. The one thing for me that we really focused in on for a lot of months was service user feedback. And I don't think we've spoken about that today, but it's something I am so passionate about, because I feel that the experts in everything we do are the families we work with. And what we do is we run service user feedback every month on all of our sites. So we collate all that information and we try and learn from practice examples with families. And we learn from cases whereby children have had really positive experiences and their outcomes have improved. In terms of other areas of development for me as a manager. We went through a process where we were all interviewed. That interview process that we had was done by external agencies and our own senior leadership, and that was to understand our own knowledge base as leaders within the city, and to look at what our personal growth and development plans needed to look like, and not just from within our own service. So we had external feedback on that. So we all now have updated personal growth and development plans. They're reviewed every 6 months to 12 months, and we're on a journey of improvement still. So lots of different training for us as managers. That will filter down, because areas where my practice might have needed to improve, or colleagues, will ultimately pass down to everybody that I work with in a team. So my social workers have all got their personal growth and development plans in place, and things that they aspire to want or achieve. We build that into that personal growth and development plan. And I think that that is absolutely imperative in terms of improving practice, basically keeping our staff so that people want to stay because we're investing in them. We're identifying where their learning needs to be, and they're identifying it with us. And we can use that ultimately to do what I love most, which is making a difference to children and families in Hull. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you for reminding us about the importance of child and family feedback. Thank you.
No problem.
But there's another question. There's a couple of questions that touch on the question of why are we adopting signs of safety. And I'll start, and then I'll ask others to come in, really. So from my point of view, the reason that we're adopting signs of safety is that in Hull, we believe that the thing that will make the most difference in terms of the next phase of our improvement journey is having a consistent framework for the assessment and management of risk. And when I say consistent framework, I mean developing consistent language, consistent tools, and a consistent approach across the teams and the service. There are many different practice models out there. Signs of safety is evidence-based. It's worked well in other local authorities. We've run a number of seminars, initial seminars, and demonstrations. I was looking for the word demos. a number of demos where we've engaged frontline staff and partners very early on and asked the question, could this make the difference in Hull? And overwhelmingly, not on its own, but in the context of a broader practice learning programme and other work that we're doing, overwhelmingly people say yes, it could. Can I come to Lara, because we haven't heard from Lara for a while. Is there anything else you'd want to add, Lara, about signs of safety?
I apologise, my internet connection just went at the crucial moment. Could you just repeat what you said, if you don't mind, please?
There have been questions around signs of safety and why we're adopting signs of safety. I've said a little bit about what I think. What are your thoughts about signs of safety and how it might help in terms of Hull's next steps?
So I think in relation to signs of safety model, I think research-wise and feedback that I've heard people who have used it, different authorities, particularly on the Aspirant Leadership Programme. I know a lot of authorities have used it and have said in relation to needs of children, it has been an extremely useful tool that they have adopted. I know that from my experience as a group manager, I've also worked with lots of other managers as well and social workers who have come into the whole area and have shared their ideas around signs of safety and how that's worked in other authorities. So I think that from what I have so far seen of signs of safety, it is a model that moving forward will be very, very beneficial for Hull.
Thanks, Laura. And looking at the questions, there's also a question around what joint working is like with other departments and organisations, and I think that question came possibly from what I was talking about in terms of improved relationships with schools. So Ellie, is that from a practitioner point of view, Ellie or Ashley, how do you think relationships are with other teams and other agencies and departments within the council on the ground?
I personally think that we have very good relationships with other agencies. I mean, it's no secret that there is at times a lack of resources when sort of doing this job. So the agencies that are around in Hull, you tend to be able to build that rapport quite quickly because you work with them a lot, really. I think it's generally really good. I've never had an issue myself working with other agencies. I think, particularly with schools, I think, especially if you work in the same area for quite a while, you tend to get to know the safeguarding leads, and again, I think you can learn a lot from them, and equally they can learn from you. I do feel that our relationships with other agencies are really good.
That's great. Thanks, Ellie. I think I'd add as well, in terms of strategic relationships, one of our corporate directors actually leads a lot of our work for care leavers. He champions care leavers and does that really well. And what that does is means that our care leavers are at the top of the agenda in a whole range of conversations that are going on about resource allocation, and it matters and it makes the difference. So that's one example, but there are others of where, you know, maybe we've flexed boundaries, maybe we've thought more broadly about people that can come in and can advocate for children and can advocate for resource allocation if that's something that we need. And I think that is a really fair point, Ellie, isn't it? Because, you know, I think up and down the country in the last 10 years, people have experienced reduction in some of the voluntary services that were previously there, some of the charity-led programmes that we'd previously drawn on. We still have a lot comparatively in Hull. We have a strong youth service, we have a number of children's centres, so we're in a relatively fortunate position, and we have good working relationships with early help colleagues. But what that has done over the last few years is really focus the effort and the attention on social work, hasn't it? And you know, the direct work that we need to do in terms of achieving change with children and families. Thank you. There are a number of questions as well around relocation packages, the council's approach to international candidates and interest. And I've seen a couple of comments from Alex there. Can I bring you in first, Alex, just in terms of outlining the council's policy in terms of recruitment and relocation? Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. So I have put in the comments, we do have a relocation package, and it's available to all candidates that are offered employment, and that does include international candidates as well, and successful candidates. That is a relocation package that's bespoke to Hull, so that really is available to anybody who is successful in employment, and as soon as the contracts and all of the checks are done and you're engaging the contract with us, then the relocation package comes into fruition. And as I said, it's available to UK citizens and international workers available.
Thank you. And we're about to end, but one final question which I've just noted, and it probably looks like I've avoided it, but I haven't, I just hadn't seen it, was what is the average, everybody's smiling, our social workers and managers are smiling, the average caseload question. So what I'll say to that, I'm not going to duck that question. Our caseloads are coming down in all areas. Our average at the moment is 18. between 18 and 20, but we want to get that down further. Is that, I'm going to ask Ashley, is that a fair reflection? Or is Ashley going to be somebody that's got a higher or lower one? Are they going in the right direction?
I think yeah, mine are a little bit higher than that at the minute, but only I think I've got 22, which is obviously between 18 and 2022. I as Advanced Prac, I do a lot of work with our kind of other social workers in the team, so I do co-work, and I think they are definitely going down. And I think what also is, we're getting a more kind of structured caseload, so the early help team are taking on that lower end stuff, so the stuff that we as social workers are taking is the more high-end complex stuff, which is what we should be kind of working. I think caseloads are definitely something what I'd call manageable completely.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock. The hour has gone really fast for me. It's been fantastic. I'm so pleased that so many of you wanted to join us, and so many of you have stayed for the hour. That's great. Please let us know if you have any other questions, but finally for me, I'd just like to say again, thank you for coming, and we hope to have further conversations with at least some of you going forward, and hopefully see some of you in the city, working in the city with children and families in the future. So thanks again, everybody. Take care.